Rona Mackay, to be followed by Colin Smith. Ms Mackay, please.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. As my colleagues in the Petitions Committee have said, this is one of the longest-running petitions in the Scottish Parliament public petitions system, dating back to 2010. That fact alone, in my opinion, speaks volumes about the complexity of this issue and gives an indication of the intransigent nature of the hierarchy in Scottish football. The committee has tabled the petition 27 times, which has included discussions, commissioning reports and evidence gathering on a number of occasions from key people in Scottish football, ministers, the petitioners themselves and many more relevant stakeholders. The petition involves a number of issues, but the main issues of concern, which I'll expand upon, are contractual arrangements between children under 16 years of age, professional clubs and the SFA. The social, educational and psychological effects and legality of clubs banning children from participating in extracurricular activity, such as playing for their school team, as an example. Presiding Officer, it was only last year, 6 years after the lodging of this petition, that the SFA lifted this ban. But there's been no monitoring of the situation, and many young people are still under the impression that they can't play for their school team even now. This is the effect of isolating the young players from their peers, being banned from enjoying a more relaxed game of football with their friends and restricting them from the game they love. The effect for many is complete disillusionment with the sport, and they end up cutting all ties with football. In addition, the question must be asked how appropriate compensation payments between SFA member clubs are for the transfer of young players under 16. There's also the question of accountability of the audit process and the accountability of public funds held by the SFA and distributed to member clubs. But for me, the core of this petition is child welfare. It's about children being used as commodities by male-dominated, top-down organisations intent on getting value for money and discovering the next Kenny Dalglish. The reality is that their actions frequently shatter the dreams of many young people, and in my opinion, they are trading in that. They are the dream shatterers, not the dream catchers. Presiding Officer, before I go on, let me say that the many excellent, hard-working youth coaches with a desire to help young people throughout Scotland reach their potential and progress in the sport are in no way to blame. I have two close family connections who work in youth football coaching, and I know they do it because football is their passion and they genuinely care about the welfare of the youngsters in their charge, and they do their utmost to help them realise their dreams. However, they are a world away from the men in suits in the SFA and the SPFL who run football in Scotland. A number of other serious issues are raised by this petition, as we've heard across the chamber. A child who signs a registration form at age Group 15 can be held by the professional football club for 3 consecutive seasons up to their 18th birthday. The operation of the compensation scheme has not changed and continues to cause concern, with payments between clubs which have been made beyond the parameters of that scheme. In addition, contracts between professional clubs and 16 to 17-year-olds contravene minimum wage legislation, with some players being paid £1 per week. And last but not least, the lack of appropriate child protection checks carried out in football agents engaged with children, as highlighted so powerfully by my colleague Claire Hawkey. In May of this year, the former Children's Commissioner Tam Bailey, a staunch supporter of this petition and who maintains a strong connection with the subject, sent a letter to HMRC informing them of the petition and the implications arising from it in respect of payments by professional football clubs which contravene the minimum wage. He reiterated the concerns that the Scottish Football Association and the Scottish Premier Football League have been intransigent to change, and told them of the documentary evidence produced which confirms 16 to 17-year-olds have signed with professional football clubs for wages ranging between £1 to £10 per week. During evidence to the committee on the 22nd of December last year, Neil Doncaster, Chief Executive of SPFL, stated, "We do not have sight of the contracts between clubs and players. Effectively, eligibility to play in SPFL competitions arises from a Scottish FA registration. So no, I don't have any knowledge of clubs paying £1 a week." Presiding Officer, even when it was brought to their attention, they failed to act. In response to a letter on the minimum wage from the petitioners, the SFA and SPFL stated, "This area of legislation is complex, and it's not always apparent from a contract how many hours a player may be working in a relevant pay period. The focus of both bodies is to ensure that players are paid the minimum wage rather than punishing clubs for non-compliance." Presiding Officer, I believe this proves the football authorities are not prepared to find out where the minimum wage has not been paid, or be at all interested in finding out what's happening to young players under their stewardship. It's true that during the lengthy passage of this petition, there have been some positive developments, such as the SFA appointing a child protection officer and a children's rights officer, and some limited changes to children's rights while signed to a professional football club. And as the Minister said, the Scottish Government have indicated their desire to work with clubs to address outstanding issues. But due to the inactivity and intransigence of those holding positions of power within the SPFL and the SFA, Tam Bailey is calling for legislation to address the matter, as we've heard. The fact is, children are being asked to sign contracts despite not having the legal power to do so when under the age of 16. Many parents do not understand the small print of these contracts and in any case are so overwhelmed that their child has been given a chance to progress to professional football that they do not want to rock the boat and ruin their dreams. Presiding Officer, the purpose of this petition is to expose the abuse of power and control of children by professional football clubs in Scotland. To date, children's rights have been contravened and football mandarins have adopted the untouchable approach. This is simply not good enough. How many more years do we have to wait until this imbalance is kicked into touch? Let's hope change is imminent.
Thank you very much. I call Colin Smith, to be followed by Alec Cole-Hamilton. Mr Smith, please.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. It's a privilege to speak in